I'm going to first start out with mistakes that both the folks on both sides of the table make, which is
Okay.
the researcher, myself, and the internal stakeholder. And then I will move on to mistakes that I, as a researcher, would be making. The first one is the biggest mistake would be not aligning on the business problem. I use a form in Verizon, which is a request for research, easily filled. It's a one-pager requesting my stakeholder to, what business problem are you trying to solve? Give me a situation analysis so that I can get an idea of what's going on and why this problem, it puts the problem into context. And many internal stakeholders get caught in the weeds in terms of what they want to solve, and I need to back them up. And it's important that we're 100% agreed on exactly what it is that we're trying to understand. So that's the mistake, is not having that agreement.
Yeah, I think for me, it's absolutely design, right? I've seen this so many times, but I think there's a few things that I kind of want to mention here. One is people thinking that utilities at the attribute level are interchangeable when you're looking at a conjoint, similar to how you'd look at it for a MaxDiff. Right? So one, just really understanding that like, hey, each attribute, the levels are not interchangeable. You can't look at the utilities for this level for this attribute and then compare it to the utility for an attribute or a different attribute, right? So that's like one. Two, I think is just overcomplicating your design. I think that a lot of times, because how useful a conjoint is, we tend to try to throw everything in there just to be like, well, we'll throw everything in there, we'll see what pops. But really all you're doing is you're A, watering down your results. B, you're throwing in a lot of extra stuff that likely won't matter and ends up just creating extra noise. And that, I think, to me is what I see most commonly, to the point where there's times where someone will be like, hey, I want to do a conjoint to test XYZ. And I was like, honestly, consumers don't care about that. Right? And so if they're not even thinking about that when they're making the decision, if you ask them this, you're not actually going to get good data, because that's not actually a decision that they would make in real life. And so I would suggest that we try to do a different type of research instead to better understand what it is that they do care about. And then when we do that, we can then assess the trade-offs. But otherwise, I think whatever decision you make on this specific thing won't necessarily be largely impacted by like what the consumer is going to say. So I think just overcomplicating your design, I think I'm such a proponent of a lean design that's well thought out, well thought through. That's how you get the best results.